Hello and welcome to Lockdown Lauderdale Private View. This is something that we've put together because the gallery is closed and the house is closed, but we know lots of wonderful artists and photographers who've been involved with Lauderdale House over the years. They're all working really hard and we wanted to give them an opportunity to share their work. We also thought there's always that moment if you go to a private view and an opening that seems a little bit like, it's a bit embarrassing to ask the artist or photographer that question, will I look stupid? So we thought with a series, we would give Tim McArthur the opportunity to ask those questions for you. Tim has been part of Lauderdale House family for many, many years. He's programmed our cabaret, directed our Halloween extravaganza, but he's also a very experienced interviewer, director, and writer. So Tim has kindly offered to do the honours and chat to Polly. Miss Polly Hancock is our wonderful photographer in residence who's been charting the story of Lauderdale House for many years now and through our transformation. But she's also been keeping an eye on Highgate for the Ham&High for many, many years. So I'm going to pass over to Tim and Polly. I'll join you again later and have fun going around the exhibition.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Hello, good evening, everybody. I am Tim. Thank you all for joining us. Now, our artist tonight, I can't remember when I met this young lady, but it feels like she has been there forever. Not like Lauderdale House since 1582, but she's been around, and I love her photos. Her photography work is sensational. And let's all speak to Polly. Hello, Polly, good evening. Isn't this a bit strange, isn't it? Virtual private view lockdown.
It's very strange. Hello, Tim, and thanks for having me along. You're right.
It's a bit like celebrity. It's a bit like Celebrity Squares.
It is, or a very small Brady Bunch.
Yeah. Now, Polly, I first met you at Lauderdale House when you were doing the photos for the Ham&High newspaper. That's when we first met, because you obviously were covering lots of news stories that Lauderdale House regarding jazz concerts, classical concerts, egg rolling, and you were working as a freelance photographer for the Ham&High. But how did you get into being a photographer?
I think, well, I worked in the music industry for about 15 years. And I'd always kind of promised myself that the music industry was for young people, because when I was young, working in the music industry, I used to see these nearly 40-year-olds, and I used to think, oh, what do they know? And so I thought, well, before I get anywhere near 40, I'm going to have to stop. I'm going to have to do something else. So my father was a press photographer, so I'd always grown up around cameras and photography, and I'd been going on local paper jobs since I was like 8 years old, just as a tag-along. So I knew that that's what I wanted to do. So I took myself back to college in my 30s and came out a year later. And I think the day I left college, not only did they invent digital cameras, because I learnt on film, but I think that was very close to when I did my first job for the Ham&High.
Now, obviously, you know, like I remember years ago, photography has seen a sort of boom, hasn't it? I would say in the past 20 years. And that was through, you know, technology has got a lot stronger within the lens and things like that. But because I remember the days of when you used to get your camera and then you used to take it to Boots to get your 36 pictures returned on a Saturday. What is it to you that is so personal about being a photographer?
I think it's just, I really enjoy the kind of the documenting aspect, because, you know, we're all here for but a fleeting time, and you think that things are there forever. Well, oh, it turns out they're not sometimes, you know, the people and the places and the events. And I just think it's really nice to be able to document those things, because otherwise they feel like they disappear. I think it's, yeah, it's a kind of, you know, it's a way of keeping things alive, even if they're, or keeping things present, even when they're in the past.
And obviously nowadays, you know, in 2020, through modern technology, everyone can take photos on a regular basis now. I mean, you look at your camera, you know, your iPhones, whatever, your smart tablets, your iPads, people can take photographs. What is it for you that makes a good photo?
I think a bit like the BBC. I think if it either educates or elucidates or entertains, then you've kind of done your job. But because I'm sort of, I think of myself more as a photojournalist than, you know, an art photographer or whatever. They're kind of my guidelines. But I do stick to the old school rules about cramming as much information into a frame as possible. Which maybe is a good thing or not, I don't know. I just seem to do that.
And when you take your photos, for instance, if you go to a press launch or, you know, you go to an event, and when you're clicking away, when you then develop and you look back, do you think all your photos tell a story?
You mean when I've been somewhere and I've edited it down to kind of the crucial moments? I hope so, and I hope that in, you know, years to come, they will be in, you know, one of the local archives. They'll be in Camden Archives or Islington Archives, and I hope in years to come people will be able to go back and go, oh great, this is a great picture of it because you've got the building, the person, the thing, and they're holding the thing, you know, rather than there's some backs of heads, you know, because I think that's the problem with people. Everybody's got their phones. I love my phone. The demand for photos at the moment is just that they're quick. So the phone wins because within 10 seconds of taking it, it can be at its destination, which was unthinkable.
Yeah.
You know, 20, 25 years ago, absolutely unthinkable. So, you know, I think things like the phone win at the moment because things tend to be on websites, the resolution's maybe not so important, it's the speed that's important. I'd like to think, on a big overview, in years to come, things that are kind of composed purposefully, or, you know, not composed like you've made people do things, but you've got yourself in a particular spot so that you can see the things you want to see. I'm hoping that it'll come back round and people go, oh, the pictures of the 2000s, they were marvellous, weren't they?
Yeah, the picture of 2020 during the lockdown of my bathroom, my living room.
Amazing.
Yeah. Well, shall we should also say to everybody as well that we are all in 3 different locations doing this private view tonight. So hopefully everything will be fine and there'll be no technical errors, but if there is, please do bear with us. So Polly Hancock, OBE, MFI, should we have a little look at your... Now, we should say that these are your favourite selections, aren't they? These are the ones that you've gone through over the past 20 years.
When we talked about doing these lockdown Lauderdale exhibitions, and Catherine very kindly invited me to put a set of photos together. Obviously, over the years, I've got thousands and thousands of photos, but because Lauderdale's part of Highgate, and I feel like, well, I've been in Highgate a long time and so much happens. You barely need to actually set foot out of Highgate to find almost anything. So they're mainly pictures of Highgate, and I've chosen them from 2003 and right up until probably last autumn. So I don't know, we've got 30 or so pictures over 18 years.
Wow. Well, let's start with number 1. Now, Catherine Ives has been our slide master. I've just invented that word. So could we have the first slide, please, Catherine? Oh, it's coming. Can you click on that to make it bigger?
I mean, we can see what that is. I think that the first 2 photos that I pulled out, they were from 2003, and they weren't actually taken in Highgate. They were taken at St Paul's Cathedral, and it was when the Highgate Choral Society was celebrating, I think, their 125th anniversary with a big concert. conducted by Ronald Corr, who of course is like super well known in North London for his musical works and his choirs and everything. And that was absolutely awesome. So I wanted to pull out a few of those because I think the choir might have changed the lineup a little bit since 2003. So hopefully it's a little slice of history as well. And because it was such a, you know, big day for Highgate Choral Society, hopefully they'll remember it. If anybody from Highgate Choral Society sees it.
And obviously that was live during a performance, wasn't it?
It wasn't actually, because I think taking photographs, as you know, during a performance is not a happy place for either the photographer nor the performers. So this was just during their kind of warm up right before the doors opened.
Okay.
Which suited me as well because I think it was in November. And the concert probably, you know, started sort of late afternoon. Still had a bit of ambient light, so.
Phew. And but even in their sort of dress rehearsal, did they sort of, when they're singing, did they sort of give you a little look? Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, she's taking my picture.
Side look.
Yeah.
Little.
No,
they're totally professional. They're not like me cavorting in front of them, trying to put them off. I wasn't, of course. I was doing my thing, but no, they were absolutely focused. I mean, they're brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Now, one thing that obviously I've lived in Highgate Village for 25 years, and there's been various things happen over the years in Highgate that the Highgate residents have protested about. And one of those was the threatening of the closing of the toilets in Pond Square.
I mean, can you imagine?
So when you got a call from the Ham&High saying, Polly Hancock, we've got a demonstration down in Pond Square, it's all kicking off.
All kicking off. I mean, I think the story had been running for a little while. And, you know, the threat of closing the Pond Square toilets was just too much to bear. So, of course, Highgate, they're very organised, they're very community-minded. There was only one thing to do, and that was to just head down to the toilets with the protest signs.
And it looks like you got really in there with the action as to the rebellion.
Always in there with the action. I mean, they were genuinely really upset about the prospect of not having a public toilet in Pond Square. So, yeah, I was absolutely with them on that, really.
And just over the years, obviously, being a photographer, you know, you handle quite a lot of different events. And when there is something that, you know, people feel passionate about and people are protesting, as a photographer, do you have to sort of stay neutral with the emotion of what they're feeling?
I think you do. I mean, I think for something like, you know, the Highgate Lose, it's kind of, you know, it's kind of a fun protest in a way, although obviously very serious, you know, the point is serious. But I think when I've been covering events, you know, marches through central London, the 2003 Iraqi war marches and all that, where it's all kind of very big scale and super serious. I think you just kind of go there to take photographs, really. You're not really on one side or the other, particularly when you're taking photographs.
Have you ever felt threatened in that situation?
Oh, absolutely. I've been battened by police. Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And have you, within that situation as well, have you taken a photograph of that, of if you been physically abused by that, or is it something that you have never thought about doing political shots like that?
No, I mean, the police are trying to do their job. I'm trying to do mine. Sometimes, you know, it doesn't always, you know, work out, and they go, oh, you're a protester. And they just, you know, push everybody out of the way, and you're going, press, press. But, you know, you have to be in the middle of it, really, to get those kind of pictures. So it's part and parcel. It's just one of those things.
And another great event that happened in Highgate Village as well, another protest, was the closure of the post office.
I mean, there would have been nothing left of Highgate if people hadn't have protested about these things. I think there would have been no toilets and no post office. Can you imagine?
I know. And obviously the Highgate post office got quite, I mean, when we talked about early, I think it was last night, we had a conversation about it, and I was like, 2008, my God, that was 12 years ago. I remember that.
Yeah. Vividly.
And of course there's quite a lot of celebrities that live in Highgate and Hampstead area. And Victoria Wood, of course, the dear, sadly departed Victoria Wood. She was really behind that campaign.
Really behind the post office campaign. And I think the picture I pulled out is one with Stanley Baxter, Victoria Wood, and I think Lynn Featherstone was there as well. If I could see the picture bigger, I would remember more about it.
I'm sorry about that, guys, but the picture is big on the recording, but for some reason my Zoom ability doesn't make it big enough for you. You could try pressing speaker view or something to see if that made a difference on your screens. But you have got Stanley Baxter, Victoria Wood, Lynn Featherstone and Bill Patterson.
Bill Patterson, yeah.
And in the background, you've got the lovely post office lady behind her counter in the glass.
Okay, so where should we go from?
Let's carry on.
Yep.
So there was another. What was the next protest that you covered? Was the Little Green Street?
Little Green Street. I tell you, if there weren't protests, the area would be so different. Little Green Street. I don't know if you know it, Tim. It's just off Highgate Road as you're coming into Kentish Town. It's a beautiful, beautiful, very old, cobbled, narrow, tiny little, sweet little road. What they wanted to do was use that as an access road for all the big building trucks, because they wanted to build on a site at the top and slightly off to the right of that. And the only way they could do it, because there's no actual entrance to that site, except up Little Green Street. And so Little Green Street, little houses, no foundations, cobbled streets. They wanted to take all the building trucks up there. So quite rightly, I think, despite my neutrality, obviously, but I think in this case, quite rightly, nobody wanted that to happen.
And of course, again, celebrities coming to fight for the area, and that was Tom Conti and Roger Lloyd Pack, of course, and you got them sharing a joke.
Yeah.
Did you hear the joke?
No, I didn't, but I'm sure it was hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that I think it always helps if you've got a Tom Conti or a Roger Lloyd Pack on your side, because what happens is then maybe more press come down to photograph your campaign. But I think these people, they actually do care. Or in Roger's case, sadly not with us, but I think, Roger absolutely cared about things that were going on. And he used to live literally just around the corner from Little Green Street.
Mm. And coming back up to Highgate Village, in 2010, amazingly, Highgate Butchers celebrated 35 years.
It seems absolutely unbelievable, doesn't it? That
And I absolutely, when I was going through these, I think this is one of my favourites because I just love how they've made the number 35 out of sausages. Was that your idea, or did they come up with that?
I think it was. I think we worked together on it because obviously 35 years, nice picture. Phyllis, Lee, brilliant. How are we going to say 35 years? We're going to have a big meaty cake with 35 count. I don't know. I think we talked about it, and I think Lee said, well, we could do it in sausages. And that was too good an offer to turn down, wasn't it, really?
So when you're also, when the Ham&High call you and say you've got to go and cover this event, how much creative, it sounds like you put a lot of creative input into the shots that are then used for the newspaper.
Yeah, I mean, so, sometimes things just unfold and, you're just lucky to be there. Other times you do have to put things together a little bit, but it's really just to make the photograph have a language, to make it understandable, so the viewer knows about what's going on without having to be completely led through it. So, sometimes there's a little bit of, maybe you could do this and come a little further forward and stuff. But, I prefer to just let things happen, but it doesn't always work out like that.
And how do you, obviously, because some people are camera shy, and when you get there to photograph them, how do you sort of give them the confidence to relax and let them know it's going to be all right, that they're going to look good in the picture?
I don't, I'm as nervous as they are usually. So yeah. I think we just kind of work it out.
I mean, because I know sometimes people are very, especially in today's society, sometimes people are very aware of how they look and what they look like in pictures. But you must have, I know that the times that you photograph me and things that I've been doing, you do have a natural sense of that people do feel relaxed. But I just wondered if there was any little tips you could give to budding photographers out there who have to take pictures, who do portrait pictures, of how they get people to be still and look relaxed. I think that's the most important thing, isn't it?
I think it is, but I think if you just kind of, if you try and chat with people and, you try and work with them, really. I think that's...
I was going to say, it wouldn't be that joke you heard Roger Lloyd Pack and Tom Conti saying to each other.
No, well, I didn't know they were going to do that. They just did that. I think I'm just going to have a sip of my private view fizzy drink that I have here.
I'm going to have a sip of my herbal tea.
Well, cheers, Tim. Would you like a clip?
Cheers, Polly Hancock. Now, what's our next one? So, one of the things as well that you've done is you've captured... can we have the next slide, please, Catherine Ives?
There you go.
Now, this one... Now, this obviously features some children. What is the legality in taking pictures of kids?
Well, these aren't just like random children. These were children who were on a rookie rangers, which is organised by the the education people on the Heath. And so if they're signed up, then they have their little forms to fill out. And this, I chose this specifically because it was 10 years ago. So these will be, probably doctors by now.
Yeah. So when you took this picture, because obviously this is an action shot, so you're obviously taking the picture at the front. Were you running backwards, or were you sort of crouched down saying, "Run and come and attack me with those big hooded things that you're going to kill me"?
Yeah, I think I was just crouched down in the grass, and I had them all coming towards me with these. They have these. They go on bug safaris and things like that, and these nets are so they can sort of thwack through the grass, the long grass, and then have a little look and see what they got and little bug things. So yeah, we were having fun. I mean, these things are great. It's a beautiful summer's day. You're up on the Heath. Oh, my job.
Yeah. It must be quite nice, especially when the weather's nice, to be out, taking pictures. But I bet it's not as nice when the weather is lousy.
It's not as nice, and it's more difficult, and it gets dark early, and you get wet, and you get cold. But I think, on balance, it's great. I'd rather do that.
And this may seem like a really simple question in so many ways, but those people who don't understand photography, and I'm quite new, I don't really understand the technical aspects of it, but how important is light to pictures?
It's everything. It's everything. I mean, photograph means paint with light. It's everything, and it doesn't. If you're looking for light, it doesn't have to be just like, well, it's got to be really bright. Harsh sunshine is not always a good idea. It's it's not very flattering, and the shadows are harsh. But yeah, the quality of the light is really important, which is why people love taking pictures when they go on holiday, because they walk out into a square in Venice, and they go, oh, look! And not only are the buildings great, but because the sun is a bit more above everything, things take on a different kind of palette, have a different look to them. Yeah, I mean, poor old us, we're all stuck in the Northern Hemisphere, and we've got quite a low sun.
Yeah.
It gets a bit dark. But yeah, I mean, it's really not complaining.
And this next shot of this swimmer in September 2011, were you in the water with him here?
I might as well have been. I think I was lying down on the side of the pool. So I'm completely wet. I've got my anorak all soaked for my art. And I was just basically lying flat with my camera, probably with a plastic bag over it, right next to it. And I was just waiting for a swimmer to do that right in front of where I was, because I didn't want to be moving around, because I wouldn't have got any because I think this was during the duathlon, so it's not like they're swimming up and down. They just get in one side and go, then they get out and run somewhere else. So this is all over in like 40 seconds or something.
I know, it's an amazing shot. And then, for example, when you took this shot, then did you, if the, say, the light or the composition wasn't right, you would then have to wait until that swimmer then came back again to do it again?
You'd have to wait for the next year, for the next duathlon, yeah.
Now, this is this is laughter yoga. Did you join in with this laughter yoga yourself?
Kind of. Not officially. They're great. They were they're just. Have you ever done laughter yoga, Tim?
I think I have actually. I think I might have had a few sherries when I did it though.
I think it's just that they kind of lie on. They were out on the heath. They lie on their backs. They do the kind of dead fly, dying fly thing, and then just laugh. And it's therapeutic. It's good for you. And they get up and they're just like, I feel terrific. So something must be right.
It's a great shot. It's bonkers. Now this one is, I have to say, I got really excited because I'm a massive fan secretly of buses. When I was younger, I actually wanted to be a bus driver before I went into the entertainment industry. So I was very upset that I actually wasn't around to see it in real life. I mean, obviously this was recent, but I had no idea they did this. So this is an amazing picture.
It's 8 years ago. I know. Well, I love all that buses stuff as well. I can remember covering the 13, which is the route from Golders Green, Finchley Road down to Piccadilly Circus. Last day that they had the route masters on that, I remember being out all day on 13s. But this is, obviously it's a restored RF 433, apparently single decker bus. It used to be on the 210 bus route, and it must have been a special occasion because they brought it out and actually ran it as a 210 for the day, and there were just people getting on it, and they had the conductor out there as well.
It's amazing, and also obviously this one is a great one for the light because the red of the bus is really
lovely,
and it makes you think. This one, what is this? Is this Brexit Day now?
No, this is the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Party.
Oh, something British.
Primary school. I just thought it was a lovely kind of flaggy picture. I love the cakes. I love the way that the girl's looking at her friend. They've got the face paint. So I just think it's a nice, happy picture.
You mentioned earlier, we talked about, the boys over the heath with their flocking things, about legal rights about taking pictures for children. So if a child is part of an organisation, then that's
just asking for a friend, Tim.
No. It's just really clear to people so they know that what the legal rights is of children being photographed.
Okay, a situation like this is at Highgate Primary School, which is a private event for Highgate Primary School. So if you have been invited to that with the intention that you will be taking photographs for the newspaper, as long as you have like a verbal consent, I would always check with parents in this kind of, way, can I take a picture of the children? And normally people are just like, yeah, absolutely. How many more do you want? We don't have the same privacy laws in the UK. We have a law which is about being seen from the street. So if you can see something from the street, you can take a photograph of it. It's not, so you can go and do street photography. There's no law against it. You might upset people, but there's no actual privacy law against it. Good.
That's really interesting because I didn't know that.
If somebody's over the age of 16, they can give verbal consent for their photographs as well to be taken. If they're under 16, you need to check with their parent or guardian.
Now we've all been clear on that one. Next slide, please, Catherine Ives.
This is another just fun event. I don't know if you're familiar with Mr. Michael Palin and Mr. Terry Jones.
Who are they? No, I know who they are.
You know who they are. And as well as, the whole Python thing, they work together on ripping yarns. And in ripping yarns, there was the race at the school was a hop-a-thon. And so because they were re-releasing ripping yarns on DVD, they had to do something. So they decided to have a hop-a-thon at the running track in Gospel Oak. And of course it was started and run by Mr. Jones and Mr. Palin, and it was just a wonderful, heartwarming, funny thing, because I think nobody really knew who would turn up or what would happen. This is the winner being congratulated. No, it was a really joyful event, and I think, you know, in light of the fact that, you know, we've recently lost Terry Jones, that I wanted to include that as well, because they were obviously such good friends as well.
Yeah, very sad, amazing people. And this is Bill Bailey and Billy Bragg busking in Camden Town. Was this a set-up shot, or did you just happen to fall upon them? Oh. It's my agent.
Your agent?
Yeah.
Got Panto. They decided that they wanted to license buskers in Camden Town, and so anybody who was playing anything more than a kazoo would require a license from the council, which I think would also cost money. So of course you can imagine this didn't go down well with the busking community. And so in support of the busking community, I think Bill and Billy were down there to again ensure some press coverage of this new thing that was about to happen.
When you take a picture of a celebrity, what's your approach to them?
Depends who they are. I've had some, you know, most like celebrities, they just want to get a good picture, really. So, you know, whoever they are, you get, you know, certain people very professional. They're just like, what do you want? You say, for you to just look here or for you to do that, and they just do it, and they say, have you got what you want? And then they leave, and it's all over in 20 seconds. Other people, you know, they want to have a bit more fun with it. Shall I do this? Shall I try this? You know, I don't think there's any one rule. It's just, you know, just like with people, just any other people.
And just a vain question, because obviously those of us who are in the industry, you know, we're all actors. We can be a little bit vain. What percentage would you say of celebrities' pictures that you've taken, they've gone, can I just have a look at that?
50%. About.
Now, who's this handsome chappie?
Oh, this handsome chappie is Alan, who's the Highgate vet. Again, this was another kind of disputed thing. It was during the there was a kind of proposed development on Highgate Bowl once the garden centre had vacated, and people like Alan, not just Alan, lots of people were very concerned what was going to be built there, when it was going to be built, how it was going to be built, what the access would be, but mainly about the disturbance to all the wildlife. And you know, you can see, I mean, we took that in Highgate Bowl. It was so beautiful. Yeah,
it's lovely. This one's fun.
This is fun. This is at the ladies' pond. First day of spring, swim. So as people were getting out of the pond, there was a kind of guard of honour of daffodils. I mean, it was just, you know, it's just one of those sweet, lovely things. Many fantastic things happen at Kenwood Ladies Pond. So if anybody's watching this and they fancy a swim and it's open again, which it's not at the moment, don't go there.
No, don't go there.
Don't go there. And expect this, but don't go there. This is a particularly favourite shot of mine.
So we should say this is a nun.
This nun, it reminds me of somebody, Tim.
Yes.
I'm just getting a power lead. Because I'm getting an important message on my computer about power. So excuse me, I'm just going to pop that in.
Plug yourself in. So as you can see, this is actually real life. Things happen. Phone calls that you've got to turn your mobiles off at the private view.
My incapability of running Zoom, but I'm getting better. We should be all right by the end, I think.
We're doing really well.
It's going very well. I don't think anyone's noticed the technical problems.
Go again.
No, nobody noticed. Where were we now?
We were on a picture of a small child looking very concerned that a nun was looking at
You see,
her.
every time I do these, I come and take pictures of the Easter egg decorating and rolling, I get a very similar picture to this, which is a very worried looking child and a rather cheeky looking nun.
Yes.
The nun was-
What
it
that
reminds
brings
me.
me to my next question. When the Ham&High have called you in the past and said, "Oh, can you go and do, for example, the Easter egg hunt at Lauderdale House, and there will be a nun leading procedures," do you are you not fazed by anything, or do you go, okay? Do you take everything in your stride?
Well, in that particular case, if they actually said that to me, or there's a nun, I'd think, yes, I know. But pretty much, yeah, everything is just, you know, just give me a job and I'll go and do it, really. I love it. I mean, you know, absolutely love it.
Good. What's our next picture, Catherine, please?
Oh, it's her again.
Oh,
I think we included some of these because it, you know, some of the fun we've had at Lauderdale.
that's
And
another
we'll do in
nun.
the future, hopefully.
Now this is a doctor, I believe, the first doctor.
This is a doctor. Excuse me. This was at the Alexandra Wiley Tower Foundation event that they do in Waterloo Park. I think they do it every year.
Yeah.
This was when Christopher Eccleston, who's one of their patrons, was a judge at their Bake Off. But he was great, and I love him wearing that T-shirt as well.
Mm. I like that as well. I mean, that's just a great shot of all the pink, isn't it, as well? All different colours of the pink.
Yeah, I think it's their charity colour, so, you know.
And it's a good angle as well, you took. Now, of course, this man, Bill Oddie, Hampstead Heath.
This is Bill in his natural surroundings. Yeah, I mean, you know, Bill's always a great guy to go to when you're talking about, you know, the swans or, you know, nature on the heath. And he's always campaigning for local things. He did the equivalent post office thing when the post office on Southend Green was threatened, because we went through those phases, didn't we? Of they're going to shut the post offices and they're going to shut the police stations and
the toilets.
And the toilets. I mean, let's not forget the toilets. So
the toilets.
He's the stalwart of Southend Green. So yeah, fair in the square, the Highgate Horticultural Society plant stall. I mean, you can't go wrong.
It's very interesting, isn't it? Living in Highgate Village, some days, especially when it's fair in the square every June, but not this year, sadly, I always feel like I'm in an episode of Midsummer Murders.
You as well. But one of the great things about Highgate, and I can say the same for Hampstead really as well, is the groups, the societies and associations there, absolutely fantastic, and they make it. And you can't fault the Highgate horticulturals.
And look, you can get 6 for £3.50. Here's some boy knocking his coconuts.
Yes, there is a boy knocking his coconuts. This is from taken at Highgate School 6 years ago, so he'll probably be a doctor by now as well.
And you were standing in front of that shot. Did you warn him not to throw the ball at your face or your lens?
No, because that really just kind of subliminally tells them to do that. If you mention, please don't throw it right at me. I've been hedged so many times by projectiles.
I was going to say, have you ever been in a situation where you've been hit by something?
Yeah, loads of times. Like, the worst thing to be hit by is a football. So now I'm a little jumpy in the park. If I hear the kick of a football, I do tend to spin round just to check it's coming at my head.
And when they phoned you and said you've got to go and take some pictures of the football, do you go, oh, okay, and go out with your basketball helmet on?
Kind of, yeah. I kind of know the safe places to be now. So if I'm not feeling very daredevil-y, I just stick with that.
And have you ever generally been frightened on a shoot?
No, but we did. I haven't been frightened particularly, but when we used to go ghost hunting at the Spaniards and stuff like that, with the fantastic David Farrant, who used to he was the one that he used to run the British Psychic Society or something. He used to live up near Muswell Hill. He's no longer with us, but there was a thing about, you know, is the Spaniards haunted? And so I think we took David Farrant up there, and yeah, I mean, things like that you can get a bit scaredy. I mean, it's like some of the ghost stories at Lauderdale House, which are always fantastic, but the truth is Lauderdale House always feels so friendly.
And speaking of that, just a matter of interest, how could you make a photo look scary?
How do you mean, Tim? How
so, for example,
scary?
So if you were to help enhance the image, so for example, if it was something like Halloween and there was like a strange odd creature in Waterloo Park hidden behind a tree, obviously there's the setup, the physical setup of the person being scary, but then how as a photographer would you enhance that?
Oh, I don't know. I think if we were doing something at Halloween, we'd make sure that there was maybe some suitable green lights, or you might use a flash from underneath to you know, make the face look a bit more scary.
Because you don't really think about that. Do you know what I mean? You can sort of take a picture flat on, but it's actually the other compositions that would enhance the photograph to make people feel, you know, you feel the emotion of the picture.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because I think that's possibly the difference between, you know, somebody with a phone who can take a really great picture and it's in focus and whatever, but I think a photographer's mind, whether they've got a phone or a camera, is to how far can we push this? How much more can we do to this? It's like, yes, we can get it in focus and in frame and this kind of thing, but what more can we do to it? So I think that was actually a really good point.
So you mentioned the flashlight. That will be attached to the camera. So you wouldn't use that on every photograph.
No, you wouldn't. Although I'm actually a really big fan of flash, even though you don't see it on all my photos, it's quite often there, just to fill in things. I don't like harsh shadows particularly, and that's just like my thing. I like a nice bit of even light, but you know, sometimes harsh light. I'm a big fan of flash. It's very old-fashioned, but I'm a big fan of flash, and I always have it off the camera. I never put it on the camera. It's always somewhere else.
And what difference does that make to it being on the camera?
Well, I think if you have a flash that's on the camera, then it's right in front. It's just not very nice lighting. Whereas if you bring it off to the side slightly, which is the correct use of flash actually, you just get a nice bit of side lighting on something, and you get more dimension in your subject.
This one, I sort of recognise this young chap here at the front. He actually looks like my partner's nephew. So I'm actually going to show them this when they get back and say, "Is this your nephew?" This is Stop the Dam. Where was this? Hampstead Ponds.
Yeah, this is at the Ponds. This was in 2015 when the Corporation of London decided they were going to have to put dams on all the ponds to stop there being a tsunami of pond water in Gospel Oak. And they, you know, people were upset again. People were upset about it because they thought, we don't want all these changes and all these trucks. And it was described, I think, at the time at meetings as being just big gardening. It's just big gardening. We're just going to do this and it's all going to be fine. And people were just upset about it. Obviously, they did it in the end.
And this lady's upside down to the side.
We can fix that. We can fix that.
Yeah.
This is another shot from Fair in the Square. It's really just to show that, you know, for Highgate, for all its celebrity endorsements and its post offices and everything, actually, it's just a great little village.
I will try again. It was the right way up a minute ago.
It's very funny. I was thinking that's a good angle. She's stopping the dam with her legs, I thought.
Just put your head on the side.
There we go.
Yeah, we can see that. Yeah, it's just another shot from Fair in the Square. I just love the fact that, you know, people are watching. It's a full frame picture. There's nothing really wasted going on in there. So.
And if it's an event like Fair in the Square, when you have to go and take photographs at an event like that, that's on for 5 hours, 5 or 6 hours. How do you know what to take. So you might see one image that you think is great, and then something else might be image that's stronger. How much do you, you know, what equipment do you take with you, and to make sure you've got enough
I think for something like Fair and Square,
film?
how much film do you need?
Yeah.
Well,
Do you know what I mean? Because that's something like that.
One roll.
One.
I think for something like that, you wouldn't want to actually take very much kit with you, because you're going to be there for 5 or 6 hours and you're going to have to traipse around with it. So there's nothing more off-putting about taking pictures, is the bag on your back, you know.
Yeah.
So you actually, to me, you don't want to take too much equipment.
And then obviously, you know, potentially at an event like that, how many shots would you take?
Probably maybe 200.
So then, therefore, when you've taken 200 shots, then obviously the editor from the handbag, the Ham&High, will then say, Polly, we're only going to use 5 of them. So then do you send them 5, or do you send them a selection of 20 or 25 or 10?
They're never usually quite as clear as we only need 5, but if they're going to do something like Fair and Square, they do a little spread on it. So I'd probably send them 8 pictures. But when I say 200, some of them are very in quick succession. So, you know, like the girl balancing. You're there, in case she falls off, because that's your picture. And I don't mean that in a cruel way.
No, yeah.
But if you take 10 pictures, there's going to be one that somehow you've just got that right balance, and then you've got the audience all looking, and, you know, there's one of those that all of those things that you're hoping for will come together. And so the other 9, when somebody's like looking at the thing, or they've got their phone out, or it's like, that's not as interesting. So you just get rid of those.
So on average then, how many shots would you take for example, the girl on the balancing thing in quick succession?
I don't know. I might take 5 to 10, something like that. Dish, just to get the right thing. I mean, it's a luxury that digital has given us. Because on film, you probably wouldn't take that many, and you wouldn't be able to see what you were doing, and, you know, it's very much a different style.
And once you've taken them, and you say there'll be like one, do you delete the 9 straight away?
Yeah.
The ones you definitely know that you're not going to use.
Yeah. Well, they would go in another file, and at some point I'd go, oh yeah, I've already seen all these, I don't need them, or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I tend to keep most of what I take, but I don't keep it in like an active working file. I just kind of archive it, because, you know, you do not know that the kid throwing the coconut balls or whatever, you don't know that in 10 years time they're winning a gold medal for shot put or something like that. You go, oh, it's the kid with the thing, and I've got loads of pictures of that. So you never know who's going to be, you know, knighted or get the Nobel Prize or the Olympic gold medal or something, and it might just be the kid on the football team, or, you know. Yeah,
amazing. It's interesting, isn't it, when you think of it like that? And just as coming to your archive, obviously, you know, you've got thousands and thousands of pictures, but is there any that you actually print off that you love and that you will put up in your flat at home, or do you not do that?
I don't. I know a lot of people have their own photos up, but I just don't do that. I'm extremely proud of a lot of them, and I really like them, and the opportunity to have taken them is, you know, fantastic. And, you know, maybe one day I'll be pouring through them and go, oh, I must have this on my wall. But right now, I don't.
I know what's missing from your wall. There's a nice picture of a nun with a scared-looking child. What's the next?
I do need several pictures of a nun.
Where are we now?
We're going to the Galopathon.
Oh, what is a Galopathon?
The Galopathon, this was a little bit like the Hopathon, but a Galopathon. It was based on something that Miranda Hart does in Miranda. And then, and then a bunch of people got together locals got together for comic relief, and decided that instead of doing like a 5K or something like that, they were going to do a galopathon around the running track, the famous running track at Gospel Oak. And as a special surprise, comic relief organised for Miranda herself to come and start it, which was a huge surprise.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. It was all, again, it was very good-natured.
A lot of things happen in Hampstead and Highgate that are very good-natured, aren't they, really?
Yeah, really. I mean, it's been a great patch to cover.
And what's our next? Are we going to? Is this ABBA?
Yeah.
Is this Fiona Bruce and ABBA?
This is Fiona Bruce and members of Bjorn Again. This was
I was going to say, if it was ABBA, you've
no.
struck gold there, because they hate to be photographed. So this would have been a real gem. You could have sold this one and made a lot of money, Polly.
I know. I mean, I love Bjorn Again, though. I do love Bjorn Again.
They're amazing.
Apparently, me and Fiona both love Bjorn Again because she looks very smiley there, very happy to be there. So they were switching on the Hampstead Christmas lights. I just thought it was a funny picture.
It is.
David Attenborough.
Wow. Now, how on earth did you get this one?
Well, we got invited to a photo call, and he was going to be planting a tree in Waterloo Park, so of course I was going to be there.
I was there too.
Catherine Ives was there.
Catherine Ives, is this tree still there in Waterloo Park?
I think so.
Where is it in the park?
If you come in the cemetery entrance and walk along to go between the two ponds, it's on your right, just before the ponds, I think.
And is it bigger than that now?
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, one would hope. This was 4 years ago.
Yeah,
I know I walk through that bit regularly, but I can't say I specifically noticed David Attenborough's tree, but maybe I should next time.
I think you should stick a blue plaque on it and say David Attenborough planted this.
It might have. We should check when we're there next.
So this is a reading that was performed at upstairs at the Gatehouse.
Yeah, this is so Highgate. This is upstairs at the Gatehouse, and it was on the Highgate Society's 50th anniversary, and it was a reading of The People on the Hill, which was written by Brendan Nolan. So, it was again, the Highgate Society are fantastic. Upstairs at the Gatehouse, brilliant. We all remember Brendan. And, this was it was a really lovely evening, a really properly good Highgate evening upstairs at the Gatehouse.
So was this during a performance, that one?
No, again, this was
during
at the end of their kind of rehearsal. Because it would be impossible to do this during the performance.
And obviously, when they are in this rehearsal, they still have the lights on because they're doing the tech rehearsal.
Exactly.
So then, how does that affect you taking the picture with the camera and the light? Do you use the flash, or are you not allowed to use the flash?
I think if it's a run through, you are allowed to use the flash. I think if you warn people, it's slightly tougher when they're doing a reading if it's when they're trying to focus. But I think everybody just knows you just want a good picture. You're not just there to hassle them. Hopefully, not just there to annoy them. But if they're lit with nice theatre lights, I wouldn't want to take that look away from the picture by flashing it. I'd want to keep that theatre feel.
Because obviously there is a difference taking photos in a theatre, and when you are invited to do theatrical shoots and a dress rehearsal, what sort of things do you have to do in order to do that? For you, what's the dynamic of that?
That's always a fun one. And if you don't know the production, if you've never seen the production before, inevitably you'll be over this side and then the thing will happen over there. So you'll be like over there. But of course the director's already thought of this because he doesn't want to favour one side of the audience or the other. So the thing will then happen that way. So then you'll think, okay, I'm just going to stay here and wait for something to happen. And then it's all going on there or all going on there. And you're thinking, yeah, it's a guessing game. It's quite a fun game. It's a cat and mouse game. Where's the action?
And also you're in the dark doing it.
Completely in the dark, and a lot of theatre lights. They're not really photographic lights. They take them down. They're really, really dim, and you're just thinking, you want pictures of this? So sometimes what you have to do is, after the run through, you have to have a word with the director and say, I loved the thing with the bit and the man, and he comes in and the graveyard. but it was so dark. Is there any way we could just do that and light guy can just up a little bit, please? And they're like, oh, but we want it moody. And it's like, it's going to be moody. It's going to be moody. I'll show you what I'm doing. Normally works out.
Very good. Who was this chappie? This was Ensign Mark Dolan, opens a Saturday market at St Michael's School in Highgate.
Yeah, it's when they had, I don't know if they still have well, obviously not at the moment, they won't have it, but had like a farmer's market, Saturday market, opening at St Michael's School. I thought it was a nice idea, and he was lovely, absolutely lovely. He did the opening, and that's again, that's quite recent. That was only 3 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, she's ahead of the time, so she's got her old gloves on. Now, of course, thank you, nice buns. Now, of course, this is Alan Carr, isn't it? I believe.
The great Alan Carr. He's there's a charity based very, very close to Lauderdale, actually, called All Dogs Matter, who do a lot of rehoming, and what they also do is a lot of events during the summer months, dog shows and the like. And again, they've got a lot of celebrity patrons who come along and help out and do a little bit of comparing, a little bit of judging. Alan was a recent addition, I think, or, you know, a few years ago, recent addition to their roster of celebrity supporters. And he came and hosted and judged and all sorts of things, the Great British Bark Off, which is a regular All Dogs Matter event that happens up at the bandstand on Parliament Hill once a year, normally actually in May. I think we've just missed what it would have been.
How difficult is it photographing animals, for example, dogs?
It can be awful. I mean, it can be awful, but they're so funny. I just love all the animals. I mean, I'll spend ages doing that because they're just so funny.
It must be, you know, because obviously sometimes you want to get the right look of the cute little doggy. And if the doggy doesn't look this way...
Sometimes you just want the tongue out and the ears all over the place and, you know, just, you want them as they are. That's the great thing with dogs. They will generally be as they are.
I remember a couple of years ago, we went, they had some sort of animal thing in the Waterloo Park, didn't they, 1 September?
They did, yes. Yes, I do believe they did. I think
I can't remember when. We were there together.
Did they have some chickens, did they, Tim?
They had some chickens, yeah. And did they have some donkeys? Did they have little horses?
They had some little donkey horses, yes, and some chickens. I definitely remember seeing you stroking the chickens. It was like a little petting area, wasn't it?
Yeah, the petting area, I think it was. I remember now. It's amazing, isn't it? Actually, it's sort of strange when you think about how strange but wonderful just what actually goes on in Hampstead and Highgate area, all the, you know, all the charity work, and that the absolutely bonkers things that happen.
I love all that. Well. I love everything from the serious to the absolutely bonkers.
I think that was the Waterloo Park centenary, wasn't it? When they had all the animals, or is it another animal thing that I missed?
It might be.
I think it was
Lark in the Park.
Yeah, one. Yeah, Lark in the Park.
Was it not the same when you did, Catherine Ice, when you did the Alice in Wonderland tea party?
We had the Mad Hatter's tea party as well.
Was that the same thing? Was that the same day?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we were all running around very confused that day.
Yes.
Talking of confusion, we're on to the...
No. This one.
This is just, again, another side of Highgate and the Heath. This was the first George Michael Wants You party on Hampstead Heath. So they're all just there with the speakers and dancing in police hats. They're just celebrating the life of George Michael, really. Another resident of Highgate. I mean, it's just, you don't need to leave Highgate, believe me.
I know. It's very sad what happened to George Michael.
Oh, terrible. Terribly sad.
And this one is a fun one.
This is a fun one from a couple of years ago. These are the young musicians from Highgate School. They were playing actually at Lauderdale House as part of the Highgate Festival. So I thought that was a good one to include as well. And it's a bit more recent.
Talented musicians of the area.
Say it again, Tim.
I said talented musicians of the area.
Yeah, I mean, how many? You've got the jazz nights, you've got the kids from the schools, you know, it's just everywhere. Really, really excellent.
Now, this one is obviously a moving one.
Yeah, I mean, this was from the Remembrance, Highgate Remembrance. This is from 2018. And it's, you know, it's always moving. You think, oh, you know, Remembrance, oh, it'll be the same. And it gets me every single year because they have somebody else speaking or, you know, whatever. Anyway, they have the War Memorial is at Highgate School. This is a picture of the local historian, Michael Hammerson. I don't know if you've ever come across him. He's very interesting, really nice guy.
I think what I love about this one is the fact is the outline of the young soldier behind him.
Exactly. You got it.
Which is really clever. And then you've got the sort of the older man in the, do you know what I mean? I think it's got a double meaning to this picture.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely nailed it. That's exactly what it is.
Is that what you decided to do with it?
I saw it as I was about to take it. I thought, if I just move here, I'm going to get both of those things happening at the same time.
Was he aware of that?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think
It's
so.
really
I mean,
lovely.
he was looking at the War Memorial, and I said, Michael, could you just turn slightly to the side? And he did, and, you know.
That's lovely. It's Conkers, is it?
Conkers. Bonkers for Conkers.
Now, again, you were not close to this shot.
I know. Conkers everywhere. Conkers are just so fun. I think they've had about 18 Hampstead Heath Conker championships now. I think I've probably been to at least 16 of them.
I didn't even know they did this. I'm fascinated.
Next year, you've got to come.
There they are. More
There
Conkers.
they are. They're all female finalists last year. So
how many people can you say bang their Conkers?
Yeah, how many people turn up to conquer? I don't know.
Conquer.
I'd say about 150 or more.
Wow, really?
Yeah, that's really serious. Maybe 200. It's serious.
And where do they get the conkers from? Is there a rule that they have to get their conkers from the local conker area?
No, they're supplied by the City of London, so that they haven't been like baked or vinegared or, you know, all the tricks that people do. They all come, they're all the same standard of conker. But I've learnt a few tricks, actually. I've learnt a few conker secrets in my time going to the conker championships. If you're going to choose a conker, excuse me, from the conker meister who will be handing the conkers out, don't get the one with a big hole in it. The smaller, tighter the string is, the better. The tighter the hole, the better. It cracks less easily.
Well,
tip for you there, Tim.
Thank you. That's a comforting thought for me to take to my when I go to bed this evening. I'll remember that.
Oh, look, it's the nun again.
Oh, it's the nun again.
These children don't look so frightened because they can't see the nun.
No, I do like this shot, actually.
I love it. Easter wasn't the same this year at all.
I think this was a really hot Easter, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's boiling hot Easter. This was 2019.
So this was last year, that's right, because I remember one year, there was one Easter where it absolutely rained down. I don't think Catherine Ives was there. And we were all standing under the gazebo and it was nearly blowing away.
Off in like a tornado and a hurricane. It's like the wettest day it's ever been, yeah.
So the Easter egg hunt I love the Easter egg hunt. Basically, children from Highgate and the surrounding areas come and they, with their parents, and they make Easter eggs that are then judged. That Polly, you judge, one of the judges as well. That they go for best decorative egg, most imaginative, whatever the categories are, and all the kids make them. Not the parents don't help them in any way whatsoever.
No, not at all. It doesn't get competitive between the parents or anything, does it?
No, absolutely, absolutely not. And again, another bonkers event in Highgate.
Yeah.
And it was sad it was missed this year. I think a lot of people, I think what's really nice, Polly, is looking at all your photos tonight and people who are watching. I think what would be really lovely is for people to see them, and how there will be, you know, capturing memories for people of some of the events that have not been able to take place due to the coronavirus. But hopefully it's given people some hope looking at them, and just making them feel all nice inside to know that these things will happen again, and how lovely that they've got their memories to look at through your pictures as well. And your pictures are available, aren't they?
They are available. If anybody wants to buy any prints, I think we're going to make them available, are we not, Mrs. Catherine Ives?
Oh, they're going to be available on the website, as will the whole exhibition. So if people want to sit and linger over different ones, they can go to the website, they get the full gallery, but also they can also listen to this if they missed it the first time round. I've got my wine now, look. Yeah.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers. And my crisp.
Cheers.
Come on.
Do you want a crisp, Catherine?
Oh, let me just see. I'd love one, Polly. Thank you.
Magic.
So I'm going to crunch. While I crunch quietly, you need to explain who the nun is.
The nun?
The llama? Did you say llama?
The nun.
The nun? I don't know. She's Sister Mary MacArthur. Do you know her, Tim McArthur, at all?
No, I don't actually. I've met her a couple of times. She's very demanding. I've shared a dressing room with her on a couple of occasions.
Yes.
And she's a nightmare.
She's bossy.
She's bossy. Sometimes when we share gigs, I have to get changed in the disabled toilet and not the dressing room. And she smells of pear drops.
I noticed that.
She's got a very nice handbag normally.
Yeah, I've not been in a handbag. I know she's got a ruler in a handbag sometimes.
She's a bit elbowy.
She is very elbowy. She's very bossy.
Very bossy. But,
it's quite strange though, because when she comes to Easter, you arrive to tell me she's coming and that you need to wait for her in my office. And then when I come back, you seem to have vanished totally.
Because I'm her guardian. I make sure she gets there.
I've never
and then
seen
once she's there. No, because we very rarely seen together.
It's
right.
Very rarely seen together.
Never seen together, Tim. Never.
No idea. Tim McArthur does many things and he's a man of many talents. But a little sideline is his comedy nun creation, Sister Mary MacArthur, who does a pretty neat sing-along as well as judging Easter egg rolling and the children's shows periodically. So I'm just going to clear that one up as clarification of identity. And before we go, there is another small clarification of identity required, because people think that they're watching Polly Hancock, but they'll have spent the whole evening looking at Lena Cortina.
It's an alter ego. It's what I sign into Zoom on. I'm sorry, that is confusing.
Yeah, and I think if they wanted to find out a bit more, if they were that way inclined, they could check out Twitter, couldn't they?
They could check out Twitter. They could go to punkgirldiaries.com. This is what we do. So that's the Lena Cortina thing. So yeah, if that looks a bit confusing.
I think that just goes to show how much happens in Highgate and how many different people.
Absolutely. Polly, I've just got one final question for you. If there might be a budding photographer watching this tonight, what advice would you give them?
To become a professional photographer,
yeah.
Or to become a better photographer?
In either professional or enhance their craft, or...
I think just keep taking pictures, but really look at what you're doing. Look at what other people are doing. Start a blog, start a Twitter, start an Instagram. That's the way, I think people are looking at things these days. Have an opinion about it as well.
And if you were to sum up your style of photography,
in four
how would you sum it up? No, but if you had to give a sentence to someone, like if Catherine Ives from Lauderdale House said, "Oh, because you're doing an exhibition at Lauderdale House, and I need a paragraph to describe, a couple of sentences to describe your work," how would you do that to enable people to come and to see your work?
I'm on the spot there. To put it all into one sentence, I take pictures because I love taking pictures, but hopefully people like to look at the results of those pictures as well.
Very good. Thank you, Polly, so much for sharing your gorgeous photographs and your stories with us. It's been really lovely sharing them and just sort of seeing them and feeling like you're there as well.
Thank you, Catherine.
Well, I want to say thank you to both of you, because that's been brilliant. It's really lovely to have a bit of time too when we're not all running around, and finding out how you do work, what you do, what makes you interested. And I hope everybody else will find it interesting. I found it fascinating. I'm going to add this little postscript. As we are in lockdown, Lauderdale House is closed. The cafe is just about to open. As I'm thinking about this, we've got it open as a takeaway. We're hoping we're going to get other bits open, but we have no income, and we are a charity. So buy Polly's prints, and that will help us out. Go to our website, click on the support us. If you're able to donate, that's great. If you're not, join the mailing list, and you can find out about other entertaining, quirky interludes that we're trying to provide for people to just liven things up a bit when they've been locked down, locked in, and all of that.
Absolutely, and I'm a struggling artist, so if anyone wants to take me out for dinner, that would be lovely.
Indeed, and Polly. But no, and thank you, Tim, very much for that. It's really, really appreciated. It's lovely.
No, I loved it. It's great.
Because you've been so involved with Lauderdale. And thank you, Polly, and for all your brilliant photographs you've ever done for us. It's been absolutely great. So I think we should all wave cheers to everybody, and then we can have a private drink. Cheers.